diecast cars, dream diecast cars, dream diecast cars, dream diecast cars.
Yeah, you know what it is.
Dream diecast cars, dream diecast cars, dream diecast cars, dream diecast cars.
Yeah.
What is happening, everybody? It is CJ here from Dream Diecast Cars, and today we're going to be taking a look around this Mercedes-Benz SLK55 AMG made by MotorMax. Now, real quick, I would like to tell you guys two things about this diecast car. The first one is the price. You can find these for around $25 on eBay, which, by the way, is where I get all my diecast cars. Everyone seems to always ask me, where do you get them? And it's not just eBay, it's Amazon, or sometimes little diecast cars, like our little diecast car websites. But usually I just like to stick to eBay and Amazon. You got to stick to sellers that have a good track record, and you can really find a lot of different prices usually. I usually buy them on eBay, so click right here, or maybe over right here, if you want to see a video. It's called Diecast Car Buyer's Guide number 2. It just shows you guys, it's just me filming my computer screen, and it's showing you guys how I buy my diecast cars. It's pretty much, yeah, so watch that one so I don't get that question a lot more. The other thing I want to show you guys is, and I'm sorry for that little background noise, is a cool feature that this diecast car has. Watch here. That part lifts up. Then I can pull the top up here. That. It's down. Raise up these little flaps. This part's kind of hard to do sometimes, which is a downside. But, when it works, it really works well, usually. Yeah, so let's just get right into the review, and I will get to the positives and negatives of this later in the video. So, when we start looking at the front of this diecast car, you guys will notice that the lights have a nice clear plastic, crystal clear, and has some details underneath it, which I like, so it does look very realistic. Then when you look lower down, you will see some little, fog lights down there, and then a grill, which, of course, for a car of such a cheap price, is not a real grill, although it does look very realistic with the little perforations. I really like it. Then in the middle, you have the Mercedes-Benz logo, which you'll notice a little color. The color's a little faded, and that is because it came off one, so I had to glue it back on, and for some reason that wound up fading the color around it. But other than that, it's very nice. It pops out. It's not just painted on, and though it is just plastic, it's a cheap car, and in my opinion, that's pretty good. Then when you look higher up on this diecast car, you will see more little intakes here, so very sleek and nice, similar to the one that you saw in this review right here of my SL55, or was it 65? I think it was the older one, so I think it was a 55 AMG. It has that too. That one's by Masto. Now, on the side of this diecast car, one of the first things you will notice, of course, is the wheels. Which, once again, they look pretty nice. The calipers the discs move through the calipers. And, it's not great. As you'll hear that little squeaking as it moves. Not really a big deal. You're never really going to be moving it like that. And then, the rims are plastic, and everything else in there is plastic, so that doesn't look great, but otherwise not too bad. And since it is a cheap diecast car, you'll notice this more in the back than the front, but the front has it too, is a little bit of suspension. Now, not as much as Masto has or Brango, but it is there. Then you will see, this is kind of more the front, but two little grills right there. And then you're going to notice this little area right here. This just fell off randomly. It's like this little It was the little antenna on the side, very small little knob. I don't know how that fell off. So the build quality was a little bit lacking. However, I think most of it's pretty good. Just those two little weak pieces, this one and the one on the front. But as long as you don't lose them, they're pretty easy to put back on. Now, as we look at the back of this die-cast car, you will notice the SLK55 logo. Sorry, it looks like I have a little light. Yeah, SLK55 logo right there. And then the AMG, it's not really a logo, it's just kind of, rating. Looks, the AMG sign right there looks a lot better than this does. Because the thing is, this is a lot bigger, and it should be about this size. The AMG one is really a perfect size, however, the SLK one is not. Now you'll see the lights. And they have that one thing that I hate to see, and it always is in cheap die-cast cars, this little black dot. That is the way that the light is glued on right there, and it's really bad when you can actually see that on the die-cast car. So that really is not something that I like to see. The license plate, one of the ones that is not an American license plate, like the one I'm used to. 3-pointed star, just like these two things are painted on. And then right there you have little brake light above it, which looks good. And this thing I forgot to mention is a little off kilter, you can probably see. It's not really that bad though. And then you have those cheap looking exhausts, which I really don't like to see, but it's okay. I mean, it's just that they look really cheap because this back part, as I say all the time, is not painted black. It's still that chrome color, so you can easily see that stops, and it just doesn't look very realistic. Now let's take a look at the convertible top. So some of the positives and negatives on it. One, it is realistic that it includes the convertible top, and it comes out nice and easily. You just, hold on a second. Pop this up here. And then while the top is actually up, these two little attachments right there, you just fold those in all the way. Put that down. And there you are. However, putting it back in isn't as easy as I showed you guys before. I was kind of struggling. Put the thing in there, it kind of has to snap a little. Then put this down. Then you have to fold these up. And the problem is, as you're seeing right now, this one stays up fine, the one on the left, but this one keeps falling. There we go, now I got it. Then usually when I tilt it down, yeah, it just falls right back. So, let me try. You kind of have to work with it a little. Just hold it in, and sometimes it's kind of difficult to do, and you have to mess around. And there, now it's in. The other thing that you don't get, and I prefer having, this little hardtop thing because it's very unique, but you don't get the trunk. Because as you guys probably know, on the real car, it opens up this way to do the hardtop, and then once it's actually in, it has the other, latch back, it has one hitch here, one hitch here. One of them releases to let it go this way, and then when you need to access the trunk, you actually pull it open this way. This obviously doesn't do that, and I have no idea how they would actually be able to do that. I'm sure you could do it some way, but it would be very costly and a very delicate procedure, I'm sure. And this is just a MotorMax car, so how much can you really expect? So, in my opinion, it's good, but it's not all perfect. Now, let's try opening up the engine, which is hard to do, and shutting it is also difficult, which stinks. However, when you do open it up, there are a lot of small details on the inside, which is very nice. It has the AMG wording there with the 3 little dashes on either side, on both sides, and then the Mercedes 3-pointed star on the actual engine block, and then just a lot of other small little things that go around it. Now, it's not completely perfect because it is just one piece of plastic that has been shaped. It's not individual little pieces like we saw on the for our F430. I didn't do the actual review of that yet, but on that one you'll notice, like, when I zoom in on the engine, it's just all these little tiny parts and looks very realistic. So then to put this down is difficult because when you just push down on it, it feels like it's gonna break. It doesn't give. So what I do is I push it back, sort of, and then pull it down, and that time did it really perfectly, but sometimes you need to kind of wiggle this around until you hear a little snap, and then you know that the engine, or the hood rather, isn't perfectly. Now, let's take a look at the interior, which is not bad for a car that costs less than $30. In fact, I would actually call it good. Because, well, when you look at the seats, it's not great. Because, you know, it's just one little red piece. That little area right there, if you can see it, it's on the headrest. That is a fan that kind of pushes air on the back of your neck. That shouldn't be red as well. And the seatbelt should not, is another part that shouldn't be red. But it does include a seatbelt, which is kind of nice. And that's really not a big problem. And then when you look up here, you'll see that the whole center console is done very nicely. A lot of different buttons, all sculpted out individually. You see a little bit, I'm going to zoom in until it's blurry, but just so you can see, you see that little red down there below the GPS, and that is like a, you know, the triangle button, I forgot what it's called, the hazard lights, which is realistic that it paints that red and it has it all in shape. Then right there you'll see the gear shifter and the clutch, brake, and acceleration pedal. I'm pretty sure, I don't know if Mercedes still makes this car in a manual. They might not, I kind of doubt that they do. But at the time, and probably forever now, this will be the last car that Mercedes, well, at least that's sold in the US, that Mercedes makes in a manual. I'm actually not sure if they sell any overseas, but they probably do. Then you'll look at the steering wheel, which is done nicely. Not really too much to say about it. It's done pretty nicely though. And then the speedometer and the RPM, the RPM's dial behind it, both look very nice as well. So that's all positive. And then when you look on the side of the door, you'll see that there is, you know, more things. There are more things that are, you know, cut out and all look very nice. And you'll see the door opener right there. Just a lot of amazing details for a car that costs so little. Okay, so my overall rating, in which case money is not an object, is a B-, which is really good for a car that only costs $25. But if you include the factor of money in it, which is probably one of the biggest ones, then it gets an A in my opinion, because I mean it has really good detail for the price, and it's above average for my first rating. It is actually above average for, I think, a lot of diecast cars. An average car would be Maisto, Brango, you know, those things. They're just average. But this is above that. And I've seen MotorMax cars that aren't, but this definitely is. So, great job to the makers of this, and I really love it. So, alright, that's the end of the video. Remember, 100 followers on Twitter. If you guys want to see that collection video you guys are all asking for so much. And, yeah, that should do it. I hope to see you guys next week. I should be putting out videos every Monday still. And see you guys around. Stay subscribed, and I'll see you next time.